Hey everybody, welcome to 36 Charge, a podcast about competitive Warhammer 40k, the state of the game and community news. We're streaming live at Twitch/36Charge every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We're also anywhere that you can find podcasts, such as Spotify or iTunes. This is episode 48, More AdMech Rules, LMAO. I am your host, Chris Vo, and joining me tonight is Kevin Lieb.
Howdy, howdy.
And Benjamin Rubenstein.
Hey, everyone.
Hey. So, yeah, as the title of the episode mentions, we got our first look at the next look in the War Zone Charadon series, basically like the new Psychic Awakening for 9th edition, and it's going to have more Skitarii rules. Hooray!
Yeah. It's a little unfortunate that the series is called War of Charadon because no one knows how to pronounce that word, so we've all just been calling it the Book of Rust. But this one is going to be the Book of Rust too. This one's the Book of Fire. But that aside, there's some good things in here, and there's some not so good things in here.
Also, some new news is we got ITC team code of conduct and ramifications. This is for teams, not just for the individuals. These punishments maybe a little severe. I felt.
Yeah, let's start from this. So this is this isn't new. This came out with the old the old quote unquote. It was from last week. The ITC code of conduct.
Yeah, we just didn't talk about it.
Last episode we focused in on the single player ramifications and codes, penalties and such, because there's a lot in there. It would have been too much, I think, to tackle everything at once. And I think it's probably worth talking a bit about also how they plan on handling team code of conduct, because it's neat that they're also identifying that a team as a whole can be looked at as an entity to enforce rules against, which we haven't seen before, ever in 40k.
No, we haven't. And I think that they're taking a pretty interesting tack with that. Hey, I know teams can be fickle in 40k. What is it? What is a team? So at bare bones, a team is just whatever you type into the team name spot on BCP when you register for a tournament.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah, but I mean, let's expand on let's just define what a team should be, at least in terms of competitive Warhammer. So, what do you guys think a team should be?
Your testing group, who you look for information on and get feedback from, the group you use to grow as both a sportsman but also as a competitor.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on a team. That's what they are for me. We definitely throw lots of list ideas off each other. We test together fairly often. Also, there's a lot of coordinating going to events together. It's not always super obvious when an event's happening. If I miss on BCP or Facebook or whatever, I oftentimes have a teammate go "Hey, you going to this?" There's more than one event that I've found out about that's local through my team, and I managed to go to it because of them. So, but yeah, we'll see what Captain said.
Yeah. So
now that we know what a team is, what kind of thing it is important to note that once you become part of a team, you're becoming part of a greater whole. I know that kind of sounds obvious, but that kind of means that you want the people on your team to be represented, people who represent you too. You don't kind of want to be known as someone who you don't want to be known as a troublemaker when you aren't, right? You're going to try to hold your teammates up to your standards, right?
Right, you're you're representing the team, and the team partially represents you.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where where you can maybe tell somebody's character by the company they keep, that sort of thing.
Right. And along that line, part of what ITC did is they gave teams kind of 5 levels. There's nothing, you're just kind of a good team. There's the warning level, which means that when you're playing against this team, they'll have the word warning next to them. It means that like, hey, be on warning. They have had enough instances to kind of show that like, hey, you need to kind of keep track of these guys more. The next level, I forget the exact name, but essentially, it's
Right?
a higher level of it's an issue. It's a higher level of warning where at the beginning of an event, a TO is expected to talk to this team to remind them that they need to behave. Um, the next level up is it's like yellow card. You just anyone who's on that team when they go to event, they just start with a yellow card, and then
Oof.
there is a team, and then there is banned where an entire team gets banned, and they can never reform more than 25% of the team members under one team.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask that, like, because I've played under multiple teams. I now play under the Great Crusade because that's the team I play as part of. But I used to play as part of there's a gaming club that I used to South County Game Nights that I used to call that my team. There's only like 3 or 4 people who played under that name. And I used to kind of bounce back and forth between those two. So I don't know if one of those two teams gets the yellow card level, could I just all of a sudden be like, I'm part of the other team? Like what's forcing me? Is there a thing that's forcing me as a player to like remain accountable for bad actions by my team?
I don't think so. Because like I said, like how do you join a team? You type the name in on BCP. Like I'm not part of like the Art of War team or like Team Battle Brothers or Gentleman Gaming, which are some of the top teams by ITC points right now. But I can just type it in, and like if I really wanted to, I could say that I'm part of U.S. Army Esports or Warhammer. I'm not, but there's nothing stopping me from doing it
People
because
have actually received, don't do that by the way, because I have actually seen someone get yellow carded at a GT for that. They put themselves in as, I think it was Team Battle Brothers, because there were a bunch of very strong players from Team Battle Brothers at the event, and they wanted to dodge them round one, so they called themselves part of that team when they just weren't. Um, so you can get knocked for putting yourself on a team that you're not on, but I assume ITC is going to do something to like make sure if 12 people are on a team and that team gets knocked for some egregious thing, that they can't just be like, no, we're going to spell our name differently now and not be the same team. Like obviously that doesn't work.
Well, that was the comment that they can't ever regroup more than 25% of the team even under a different name.
So if a team gets knocked at an event, does everyone on that team then get tracked as part of the team, no matter what team they sign up for as part of an event?
I don't think so. But this kind of goes to the idea of like holding someone. Let's say, for instance, Ben, you and I were on a team, and I was just an a hole. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
what else is new?
you might try to be like, "Hey, Kevin, do better. Kevin, do better." If I just continue to be that jerk, um, eventually you're just gonna walk away, right? And like, yeah, you were getting penalized before, but reality is you never did anything wrong. Now, if you did a bunch of things wrong, well, that's going to get tracked on your personal record, right?
Okay. So do you think we're going to see teams break up then around? All right. So basically, what's going to happen is teams are going to either leave toxic individuals or toxic individuals are going to get booted.
Correct.
Okay. That's good. I think that's a good thing. It's going to it's going to put pressure on players to correct their teammates' issues.
Yes.
Teams should be policing their own anyway. Being realistically.
Yeah, I agree. So little known fact, I used to be a magician, and when I did stage shows, um, whenever I would deal with a heckler, the best thing I could find was essentially turning the audience against the heckler, because 95% of the people were enjoying my show. That heckler probably was even enjoying the show, but they just wanted to like
Be part of the
get the
show.
attention. So I would do like, oh, well, I guess he doesn't want me to do the show. I'm gonna walk away. The entire audience would turn on that person, and he would just stop heckling me. And it's kind of like the same philosophy where like that person who's like being a bad sport might not really see the people he's shooting really as, I'm not gonna say as people, but like kinda.
Well, as yeah, as worthy of winning. Usually, it's about thinking that they deserve to win anyway because they're better or something like that.
You're right, but when you're like letting down your teammates, people people you hang out with, then you're probably less likely to do those kinds of actions.
Yeah, sure. The other thing that unrelated to having an individual that's problematic on your team is I know in the past there have been concerns about teams fixing events. We talked about them a couple times on this podcast where every once in a while there's an event where it's just like it's not super clear what happened, but like everyone on the team got a bunch of points that they maybe weren't supposed to, and it's not clear. And now ITC just has the tool to be like, okay, well, my team's on warning, like something fishy happens, and now we can just be like, we just have like a response that we can do now to that team to deal with whatever the thing was.
Hmm.
Yep.
Which is actually where my mind went when I first saw these rules. But I really like your take too, Kevin. I think that's going to be a thing. We're going to see teams start to police themselves a bit more.
Um, uh,
Were there
this is
any
another
other
reason why I love this. Go ahead.
were there any other like big departures from like the individual like code of conduct, like when it comes to like team code of conduct?
I didn't. We kind of hit all the big things.
Okay.
Um, but as I was just about to say, this is another reason why I love this document. I think it's going to do a lot of good for the game if it's truly enforced.
Yeah,
Yeah,
My only
I
concern now is it really going to be as enforced as I want it to be?
I think it's gonna be very hard to enforce the team part just because of how loose ITC plays it with one as a team. Because unlike pretty much anything else, any other game I've ever seen for teams, you just like can join or lead them on a tournament to tournament basis, and that's like fine until you start trying to enforce rules for teams, and then it's like, well, what if we just change the team name and everyone joins somewhere else? Like, does the faction follow us? Like, if you get to the team can't reform level, yes, but the other levels, it does not appear that infractions follow teams because like if it's one person, then teams can either reform without that person, in which case that's fine. That's probably a good thing if the team reforms under a new name without that person. That is the goal of this document. That should probably be allowed. Um, but if it's multiple people on a team causing issues, which I would imagine is probably what's actually more likely to cause teams as a whole to get infractions, then ITC has a little bit of work to do to make sure that they're tracking individuals as a team and not just like the team name.
Yeah. Um, I
Do
don't
you?
know. The,
Oh,
the
sorry, go
the
ahead.
perspective I would put on this, and I think this is actually more applied to you. Is your team trying to like do well within the team ITC scorings?
Um, we'd like to do pretty well. Yeah, we have a
Right.
couple other
So
local
like,
teams that we have like a friendly rivalry with that we try to score higher than.
well, yes, I would say there isn't a severe, like super severe punishment. Uh, I think if like all of a sudden you're just like out of the running, that's a letdown. I get it's not a lot, but like it'd be the same way of me saying like, oh, I messed up this year. I'm just going to walk away from the ITC for this year, right? Like reality is this is a hobby. I could get away without ever going to like a big tournament,
That's fair.
technically.
That is fair. Yeah, you are giving up your points. I guess my only last question with this is: do we think that the ITC is going to, if you do have just like egregious cheaters on your team or like a single egregious cheater, are they just going to keep that at the punish that player level, or are they going to move it up to the team? Like, at what point do teams start seeing consequences for individuals?
I mean,
Was
what it
that
comes down to
like
is it institutional? Is it like sanction? Is it like is it a team effort to cheat? If it's just like you got a team of 10 guys and just one guy, uh, you know, just cocks the dice. Yeah, just give that guy a yellow card. If the whole team goes in and purchases loaded dice, and they pull their money together and they all use those dice because it'd be cheaper to buy them as a big group, then that's a team thing.
Or the entire team submits the list late because they want to get as much info, or um, I don't know.
sure. Yeah, I guess my only question is: at what point is GW? I mean, like I said, like is
It's
it
hard.
just gonna be like,
We don't
we're gonna
know.
punish? Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how they implement this, because they were a little vague on the details of like when do teams actually suffer consequences as a team compared to when does an individual suffer consequences as an individual. So until we know more about that, I don't know how much more we can say about this, but this is good. I'm glad this exists.
Yeah. It's better to have this kind of thing in place beforehand instead of trying to just make up the rules as you go.
For sure.
Yep.
All right. Want to talk a little bit about the Book of Rust that we mentioned? Or sorry, I'm doing it now. The Book of Charadon, Book of Fire.
Yeah. So,
which I said everyone's going to call the Book of Rust, and then I did it.
So, Tim, the prodigal sorcerer in chat, is asking if he's late or early. It depends on what you're asking if you're late or early for. If you're talking about playing AdMech, if you have an army already, you're early because the rules are just continuing to pump along.
Yeah, it's going to get even better. So a couple armies in this book. Let's start off with the. We'll just look at the GW article and go from top to bottom, I guess. We're gonna get a veteran Skitarii cohort that is supposedly from Metallica. The last Army of Renown we got for AdMech was also from Metallica, but then they said anyone can use it, and then they gave us a Codex supplement for Metallica instead. So it's unclear if this is going to be Metallica only or if this will be for everyone, but it's going to be veteran Skitarii. So it says making Skitarii Vanguard and Skitarii Rangers even better, which is exactly what they wanted.
Yep.
So
I'm so
also what they
excited.
needed. They weren't good enough. I was unimpressed with Vanguard damage output and durability. That's sarcasm, by the way.
it really depends on what they give and what they have to give up. Because like if you told me that they're veterans, so they're +1 ballistic skill, but you can't take Colt Mechanicus, in a lot of ways, I'm like, that's probably not enough because I can already kind of get that 2-up, or I can get 3-up through rolling everything, and that's like close enough. And being able to take Colt Mechanicus stuff is
it
better. So like it does depend. I agree though. Vanguard and Rangers definitely did need a buff, and I'm really hoping there's a significant cost for this buff.
Yeah, I disagree with that particular take, just because I think the Cult Mechanicus stuff just isn't that important in the Skitarii spam list, because Cult Mechanicus is like robots and Electro Priests, and you can just like fill out your army with a million Dune Striders and a million dudes on foot and tanks, and just it. I don't know. I'm hoping like maybe they limit them to 10 guys. I hope they limit them to some, like there has to be a significant drawback. You can't just like make them better.
But I guess I will also say, let's just say it is that 2-up ballistic skill and +1 leadership. So like old veteran, like a one take on veterans, right? If that were 2 more points per model, I still probably wouldn't take that, right?
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's like ways for them to do veterans that isn't broken. That being said, so far a lot of these supplements from the Carcadon books have been good.
Carcadons are the Shark Marines. How dare you, sir?
Sorry. Everything was fine until the fire book attacked.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool. All right. I like that take more.
Have been pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything has seen constructed play, but like some of the best options for the 9th edition books have come from the original War Zone Carcadon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, chat saying like 80 shots hitting on 2s, rolling 1s with 6 exploding is really good. That's like the Vanguard, or sorry, the Ranger shooting. The really silly thing is the Vanguard auto wounding on force, with then being, transhuman, 2-up armor, ignoring AP 1 and 2 +1 saves. Like it's just too much. There's just too much happening with that unit. It doesn't cost enough points. You can stack too many buffs on it. And I'm like, it doesn't take much for this to like just break it. Like it doesn't, like how, like if there's like even one good rule in this that makes Skitarii better, that stacks with everything else the way you want to, then this is miserable because it makes the best army already better. This feels very similar to me, like the Space Marine Psychic Awakening, where Space Marines were insane, and then they're like, but also here's Master Chaplains and Master Librarians, and then everyone's just like, why would you do this? Where it's like pretty clear that they printed this book and hadn't tested it clearly, Like I don't know. Like we'll see. Maybe it's like actual garbage, and they say everything's limited to 10 guys, and it costs 3 points more per model. But I have my doubts.
I am also concerned. I see some hope, but I am mostly concerned.
And then Kevin also raised an excellent thing to me that I'm like pretty excited to see too, which is that Metallica works very well with House Raven Knights. So if this particular thing is like Metallica only, we could see a world where you're like, I'm bringing a Metallica detachment and a House Raven detachment. For Metallica detachment, I need Codex Adeptus Mechanicus, Book of Rust 1, Book of Rust 2, and then for my Knight detachment, I need my Night book, my Night Psychic Awakening book. Magares is the good one. So the Forge World book. So you're on 6 codexes to run your army, which is like
Jesus Christ. That's like
9th edition. The edition of fewer books. Yeah, okay, GW. They say this every edition. They're like fewer books, and like I can already conceive of an army where you need 6 books to play it.
yeah, no,
And it's
that
not even like
definitely
even if it's not
reminds.
competitive, AdMech plus Knight is like a classic thing. So it's not like and this isn't like, oh, I've like done some absurd soup thing. Like AdMech plus a Knight is a 6 codex army. You need 6 books to play it. Come on, GW.
Yeah, no, that's ridiculous. That reminds me of like being a chaos player towards the end of 8th edition, where like I think like for that GT 2 years ago that we went to, where I brought a chaos army. Shit, how many books did I have? I had Chaos Marines, I had Thousand Suns, I had Death Guard, and then I needed to have the 2 Psychic Awakening books for that. Did I have demons too? I think I had demons. I think I had some Nurglings in there too. Yeah, because it was a Nurgle detachment, so I needed the Chaos Demons Codex as well. Yeah, so that's 6 books.
Yep. All right, let's talk about the next army in this book. So next one is Morven Vol, supported by Sisters of Our Martyred Lady. I'm feel really silly that they're going to be like, here's an army of renown, you have to run Morven Vol. Like, oh no, I have to run Morven Vol. Like the model, sorry, she's in every army already. So really, this is an army of renown where they're saying you have to run Our Martyred Lady, which I think is pretty solidly the 3rd best faction. Bloody Rose, which is the all of you +1 attack, +1 armor penetration on the charge, and Argent Shroud, which is reroll a hit or a wound and you can advance and shoot, are very easily the best 2 factions in that book. And I couldn't tell you which one's better. There's an argument for like either or. One of those 2 is the best, with the next up being probably Our Martyred Lady. That or Valorous Harp. It's probably Our Martyred Lady, and this is going to probably just like really solidify it's Our Martyred Lady. Just because Our Martyred Lady can run 2 Chapter Masters, because they can run Morven Vol and they have their own named Chapter Master. Who's really good, by the way. She has a 6-inch aura of cover, and like Sisters were power armor, so just having like a bubble of cover flying around the table is like pretty nuts.
2 up armor saves.
Yeah, and then like you can, and then they're probably going to want to take 20-man blocks, because when they lose models, they get +1 to hit. So if you kill like 2 guys out of the block, well, now like the whole thing hits on 2s, and you can give them both full rerolls to hit, give one of them all their 6 to hit auto wound, fish for 6s. There's a lot that can happen there. So it's neat. I'm glad that it's not for one of the best 2 factions, but there's some sub factions that like need some help, and it's unfortunate. Like I think the other 3 factions are just going to be falling further and further behind. As a Sisters player, I'm excited for new Sisters rules. I'm always excited for more Sisters rules. I'm happy that unlike the Skitari one, they didn't just point at the best thing and go, that one's getting better. At the same time, I hope it's not that good, to be honest, because Sisters are already really pushed, and I don't want to see them get more pushed, because again, like I would like 8th edition codexes to be like pretend to be able that they're playable, and I don't want them to get better. I've been shaking his head at me. How do you feel about the Martyred Lady?
I'm excited for it. Because I can just see them getting like somehow getting another set of not chapter approved. Is it secondaries and like them just being the best because they have 2 free secondaries. Because Armor Lady is the other way of getting extra command dice, miracle dice, right?
Yeah, Armored Lady they get extra miracle dice whenever one of the units dies, so they can just kind of point at the one where you have to do extra miracles and just be like, "It's free. I have all of the miracle dice, which can do miracles and gain points."
A little off topic, but that artwork they have for this detachment is is Morgan Val's like model really small compared to what she's supposed to be in the lore? Or is
No,
this artwork just supposed to be like
that art
no.
is
So if you look at the
just
artwork,
huge.
she's actually in it twice. So she's on the ground behind the sisters, and then there's like a huge like shadow of her in the background. She's like superimposed over herself.
Yeah, it's
Like
kind of,
she's in the artwork twice. I'm
it's
sure why
not
they did it that way.
composed well, like art wise.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be
confusing.
she's leading from the back, but like her spirit is over all of them, protecting them. Like that's what's supposed to be happening here, and it just looks awkward. I don't know. The artwork's weird.
Yeah,
okay.
it doesn't come across well.
Yeah, chat's saying that let's see, running 8th codex is 9th is worse than running an index faction in 8th. Yeah, that's like very well true, especially because some of the index factions were really dumb because GW was sort of learning how to write rules. There were several index things that were like better than their codexes. Like index Zinch demons was like better than any codex.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, on that topic, there were some points nerfed for indexes across early 8th edition, but like what they did at the beginning of 9th edition, they took a look at all the 8th edition things and said like you're all up 20%. It doesn't matter what your rules were if all your models cost 20% more than they did compared to what we're going to be costing everything else.
And then
You're worse. And like if they did that to the indexes, yeah, indexes would be worse.
yeah, sure. And then and then when 9th edition books come out, half the factions get their points back, which is like insane, or they keep the same points and get twice as many rules.
Right.
Yeah, it's a bad design philosophy.
But speaking of rules, for models that have been out for a while and
Man,
promised,
up next thing,
Be'lakor.
yeah, Be'lakor. Be'lakor will be fun because he'll be one of the only models in the game that can actually look at Morven Vol and Killer and Melee. Nothing else can do that. So he has his own army of renown, the Disciples of Be'lakor. It's mortals and demons together. It has a unique psychic discipline, so that's neat. So originally they said he has a unique psychic discipline. So now it's looking like his army has a unique psychic discipline, which will be a psychic discipline that both demons and he can use. Sorry, demons and mortals can use. If you're allowed to bring mortal psychers, we'll see. Like maybe they'll be like you have to bring mortal HQs and demon troops, or like there's a lot of options in there. This is going to be our most interesting army of renown because most army of renowns put restriction. Actually, I think every army of renown has put restrictions on your list building, and this one breaks rules. This one changes how you're allowed to build your list, which is fascinating. Unless it says you must bring 2 detachments, which would be fine, I guess, but less exciting than like stick them together.
No, I think I'm gonna guess we stick them together.
Like 1 detachment.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bellacor's going to do in the meta, like the actual model Be'lakor, like assuming he doesn't have like 10 mortals we haven't seen. He probably does, but like pretend for a second he doesn't. Does he just
It's
die?
been a while. He has you can't reroll hits and wounds against him.
You're -1 to hit him. You're -1 to wound him. You cannot reroll hits.
Gotcha.
How many points was he again? Like 300-ish?
He's 320. He's
Yeah,
got 16 wounds at T7 with a 4 up and vulnerable save.
Yeah, I should go buy Be'lakor. I mean, the model is cool as hell, so I'm gonna buy it regardless. I just haven't done it yet. I don't know. I do we know much about like the rest of his army construction rules? I don't remember reading that much about it in Warhammer community article, but I know
no, they didn't say anything about it. They just said he can have mortals and demons in his army.
Right, so, but I know in Sigmar it's kind of restrictive.
I wasn't talking about his army. Like, we don't know what his army is going to do. I was just talking about the actual mortal Be'lakor. Like, is that going to... Because presumably, for this army of renown, you will be obligated to put Be'lakor on the table. So, like, is Be'lakor a waste of 320 points, or is he a model that actually... Or is it 3... I can't remember his point cost. Or does it, like, actually do something?
Wound? No.
Having 16 wounds means you can hide behind buildings, which is like, that does a lot.
Yeah.
That does a lot.
That's like one of like Mortarian's like biggest downfalls right now is that he can't hide.
I also think he might be tankier than Mortarion.
With -1 to hit and -1 to wounds, like probably.
And you can't reroll hits against him.
Yeah. I mean, like you can't, you can put that on Mortarion too, but like it's at the cost
you
of
can't
other
reroll
things.
within 6 inches of Mortarion. Sisters multi-meltas just pick him up like it's nothing. You can actually miss Be'lakor with a multi-melta.
Yeah, I think Be'lakor is going to be a solid pick, especially if Morgan Vol is going to be like that oppressive, like as oppressive as we think she might be. Like I'm thinking like when Gilliman,
So
early 8th edition Gilliman.
So my comment on Morven, him being able to kill Morven Vol, like it is true. He can kill Morven Vol melee. Most things like don't do that in one swing. She's not actually going to be in a position where she's chargeable. Like she just sits behind rows and rows of sisters and yells at them to do better. But his melee output is like really good. There's not really a target he doesn't just pick up. Like anything, I think he kills like anything in between. Like he might miss 10 guardsmen, but he kills like 8 of them, and he smashes a knight to pieces. Smashes anything in melee to pieces, including like the Primarchs. Like Magnus and Mortarion are super sad against him. He just kills them.
I'm concerned because, like, don't get me wrong. I think there's in some ways he's more durable than Mortarion. The thing is, like, Mortarion's like kind of dying like twice over right now. So like, even if he's 50% durable, he still kind of just dies. I get he can hide.
Being 110 points cheaper also does a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like big melee models just are like not where 9th edition is going.
Super fair. That's they're not great right now.
I mean, if big melee beat sticks were like the way to win 9th edition games, then I feel like we'd be seeing a lot more Space Wolves, because I don't think anybody plays Hero Hammer better than the Space Wolves do. And right now they're kind of dog shit.
Drakari play it better. And they're the best army in the game.
Well, they're way to deflate my entire argument.
Right. I actually I have a buddy who's getting into competitive 40k, so I played a game as Drakari this morning on TTS because he's kind of trying to learn the meta. And yeah, I was just like, holy crap, I'm just playing Hero Hammer. I have like multiple HQs that can just like walk into anything and kill it. Because I don't know, man. Chat is saying does he have a wound loss restriction? No, Be'lakor does not have a restriction on the number of wounds he loses a turn. And then Tim is saying pretty sure that not even Morty can kill Morgan Ball. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Mortarion whiff to kill Morgan Ball. Like, she's so tanky. She doesn't kill him back, at least. Like that's something, but she certainly hurts him.
Yeah.
Although honestly, I wouldn't expect Mortarion to ever make it into melee with her because she's always going to have multi-melter retributors sitting next to her, and she can just make them kill Mortarion instantly. It's not good. I'm not happy. So yeah, that's the Book of Rust. The Book of Fire. Rust is gone. Only fire now. Everything changed from the Fire Nation attack. Thank you, Kevin.
Did anything actually change though?
When the Fire Nation attacked? I don't know.
Maybe
no, sorry.
With the book. Yeah, like, I don't know. Maybe we will finally see Skitarii lists get so good that Dark Eldar start going down in win rate because they can't beat AdMech no matter what. We'll be like, it'll be great. Well, like Dark Eldar are going to get down to that like 80%, like 50% win rate that we're hoping they would, and AdMech will have like a 90% rate. It'll be fine. It'll be great. It'll only be one faction that doesn't have a 50% win rate or less.
Did Orcs get any new rules in this?
Not in this, but we can talk about the Orc spoiler. There was an Orc spoiler. They're getting a new psyker, the Buzz Boy, the Bird Boy.
It's the Whir Boy.
The Whir Boy, which is not a weird boy. So they have multiple psyker models now. We don't know any of his special rules. It's they imply that he turns enemies into squigs, which might
That's the
mean
spell. No,
which
that's
is
the spell. The squiggly curse.
yeah. So it's not, which, like, I'm not sure if they're trying to say he casts off of a different psychic table, which would be neat, or if he's just like that's going to be access to weird boys, in which case we'll see what the difference between a weird boy and a weird boy is when the codex comes out. The psychic power they gave goes off on what, a 7?
Yep.
I think it's a 7. Pick an enemy unit within 12. You roll a d6 for every model in the unit. Every 4 up is a mortal wound. There's no cap on the dice you roll. If you kill an enemy model, every unit
it's up to a
within
maximum of 6 dice.
Is it 6 dice?
Yeah.
Okay, thank goodness. So when you do your 3 mortal wounds, if you kill a model in that unit, every enemy unit within 6 inches of that unit takes a mortal wound. This is really good. This is better smite 99% of the time. Orc casters have traditionally not been very interested in casting smite. They've usually had better things to do, but with more casters, maybe we'll see a combination of rules that make you interested enough in wanting to bring more, and then bring better smite.
Yeah, because I mean, like before, it was basically like, all right, do I spend a cast on casting smite, or do I cast the jump?
Yeah, it's like never close. Just
yeah, it's not even like
your backline.
All right.
He also has eye cannons because his eyes are laser beams, but he's an orc, so they'll probably hit on 5, so whatever.
Yeah, but it's AP3, D3 damage.
Every orc gun is like AP3, D3 to D6 damage. They never hit. Like, they're all the same profile. If you look at orc shooting, every gun's absurd, and then like ballistic skill 5, oh whatever.
Back in my day, ballistic skill 5 was really good. It meant you hit on 2s.
Okay, Grandpa.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just asking about if the orcs got any rules in this one, because like,
nope.
Charadon,
not in the Charadon book, no.
Charadon, whatever, is like, it's an orc empire, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's no orc rules. Maybe they're just waiting for book 3 so that they can release new rules and all of the new orc boys.
Yeah.
That'll be
someday they're going to release one of these books with Grot Revolutionaries in it, and then Dreadbore is going to literally die and will be down a viewer. That'll be unfortunate. All right. Anything else we want to talk about on Book of Rust?
No, I mean, like, I think GW saw the success they had with Psychic Awakening, and then was like, hey, let's just keep on rolling with that into War Zone Charadon, without realizing what made Psychic Awakening good, which was it gave a lot of fresh rules to early codexes, whereas they're kind of taking like almost the opposite tack here, where it's like Drakari Codex just came out. Also, Cult of Strife is in this book that came out the same weekend.
Yeah, and we already talked about this a bit. Like, you kind of have to do that because you don't want to design your codex supplement before you design your codex, because then your codex supplement can limit the rules you put in your codex. So yeah, just like last time, I'm just gonna say like, oh man, if the rules aren't that good for the best thing, it'll probably be fine. And then they're gonna whack us with another Drakari Cult of Strife. Here are all of the rules Drakari are missing. Also, they're better. Also, they're more efficient. I'm hoping they don't, but I'm already ready for them to do that.
They're probably gonna do that.
Yeah, they're probably gonna do that. All right. Last thing I wanted to talk about is Chris, you and I are headed to an RTT in about 2 weeks. Or are you not going anymore?
No, so I was going to go to one this weekend because next weekend I have a wedding to go to.
Okay.
This weekend is the one up in this place called Midgard Games in Derry, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it to that one because reasons. I'm gonna try to, but we'll see if I. Right now, I'm registered for it. I'm planning on going, but like I might have to drop like in a couple of days.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I have one on the 10th. I hope I can go to on off the walls. I thought you were thinking about going, but are you not going to that one anymore?
I'm not, because I have that wedding that I totally forgot about. Also, I need to go to the dry cleaners.
Chris and I are going to 2 different RTTs. I was Gonna just check in with him and then also, I guess, myself. See if we're making any changes to our list, for bringing the same-ish factions, how we felt about our performances at the last ones, and what changes we're looking to make for ourselves, and like what we think of the local meta.
Yeah. So I know
So
at
Chris,
least
you
on
making
my
it,
side.
let's start with that first question, Chris. Are you changing your list at all?
Yes.
How and
So
why?
so I'm changing it because I didn't really have a lot. I feel like I didn't have enough shooting threats. I had like 3 plague burst crawlers, but that can be real swingy. And it's not a lot of volume there. It's like 6. I'm getting 6 like quality shots out of it a turn, which I can with on all of those if I just roll badly. Decided to drop a plague burst crawler and add in a contemptor dread with double twin volkites. On top of that, since I'm bringing that, I'm gonna buy a new relic for my Tallyman, the Toll Keeper, which makes 6s to hit explode. So basically, I plan on trying to make up volume of fire with the Contemptor putting out 16 shots a turn. He's gonna be hitting on 2s because he gets +1 from the Tallyman. 6s explode, and then 6s to wound, cause mortal wounds. So I should be good for a decent amount of mortal wounds off of that. Going along the same lines of that, I'm going to swap out my Lord of Contagion for Lord of Virulence because
the new one.
Yeah, the new one, the shootier version of it. Because yes, the Lord of Contagion gets I think it's +3 inches to contagion range, but you can just force that with CP. You don't need to have that baked in. And now that I'm swapping over to the slightly shootier one, I can get a little bit more value out of that, which, Lord of Contagion, he's 5 inches, so you can kite him, kind of reliably if you really want to. And if he doesn't make it into combat, his value is basically just like the threat of him getting into combat, which I don't want to discount that because that's a very real thing. But, being able to just shoot something to kill them, can work just as well as scaring them away to, not want to be in combat with you. And then one of the things that I used to, I think, pretty good effect in like the tournament games and the practice games that I've had is using the stratagem flash outbreak to give whatever is near whatever to give them the -1 AP contagion combined with the -1 toughness. It can make your shooting really nasty.
Yeah, I think Stormbolts just kind of kill anything.
Yeah, so to do that, I splashed in a fetid bloat drone with a flesh mower because it's 12 inches and moves 12 inches and flies. So I can
the flesh mower is like real. That thing kills everything.
Yes. I also don't actually have like the multi-part kit. I just have like 3 of the Dark Imperium ones. So I took one that I, for some reason, lost the guns to, and I got a couple of like drywall anchors, the screw kind, and glued them together, and then just took some green stuff and like made like fleshy looking arms to come off of it because I'm a cheap ass.
Excellent. I love it.
So to disguise it a little bit, I took some like hobby barbed wire and like wrapped it around the mower part. Actually looks pretty cool. I'll share a picture.
It looked pretty good last week.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Oh, and then I'm just reserving like 45 reinforcement points for myself to summon in Chaos Furies because it's 2 power level, so I can't fail it. And again, it's going to be 5 flying 12-inch infantry bodies that have a 5-up feel no pain that can do objectives for me and do actions. And with the new what is it? New recon one?
Oh, the new recon. Okay.
Yeah, with the new recon, or even like scramblers. They can do both. Yeah. So.
I've actually been very impressed with summoning demon infantry, because you can like kind of put a character behind either terrain or like something durable. And then on your turn, if you go first, you can just be like, all right, I'm immediately summoning onto the objective in front of me, and then those guys who I just summoned can do an action. I mean, not in the opposite order. You can like advance something tough in front of them. Well, you advance, you can't do an action, but then you can summon infantry like right behind them and like raise the banner or like whatever other secondary you want to do.
Yeah, because a lot of those actions are
thing.
at the end of your movement phase, which is concurrent with
Yep.
summoning.
Because you can summon, you can summon and then do actions. And then if you go second, well, normally that would mean that you'd have a bunch of squishy infantry on the line who just gonna get shot to death, but like they're not there. You haven't summoned them yet. And I've just been very impressed with that.
Yep, and I think the thing that gives it a lot more flexibility too is when you summon, it gets placed within 12 inches of the character that summons. It's not like within like right next to them. So
It's far.
It's pretty
out.
damn far. Like if you really want to, like if for I think what is it for scramblers, you got to be like 6 inches away from like the another table quarter, right?
Mhm.
If you put your character right on the line, like you could summon into either of those quarters. So depending on like if you can. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of flexibility there in summoning them. And then, like, 12-inch fly, that's a lot of flexibility in and of itself. Are they the most durable thing? No. But you can't fail to summon, and they're 45 points.
Right.
I think it's just a nice utility action doer.
Yeah.
Got some questions for you.
Sure.
Are you still planning on taking While We Stand replayed at every game? And what would those be?
I don't think so, because right now, While We Stand would be my unit of Blightlord Terminators and my 2 Plague Burst Crawlers. And while those things are tough, I feel like I'd say about probably like 40% of my games, killing the Plague Burst Crawlers is going to be high on the priority list for my opponent. And I don't want to give away points for something that they're gonna have to do anyway in order to win the game. It's on their path to victory. The Blight Lords, like, they're probably gonna be like in the middle of the board and trying to control it. So again, that's gonna be, if you want to win the game, you're probably gonna have to try to contest the middle of the board too. And while the Blight Lords will realistically probably like survive, unless I'm being like shot at by everything in the army. I don't think I'm going to be taking While We Stand. And beyond those considerations, I have found that taking While We Stand makes me overvalue those units. Instead of doing like the chess move, like, oh, I'll sacrifice this in order to take that and kill that thing, I'll just be like, no, I want my points. I'm just going to keep them right here.
Well, I mean, that's not overvaluing, right? They're worth 5 points. But they probably shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because I did feel that in our game where you were just like trying to play very defensively with your Terminators, and it's like you couldn't do that. You needed them as a resource.
Yeah, and without taking While We Stand to put that additional value on them, it just frees like that mental load, that mental block from me. So
yeah. So then, what are you bringing? Like, what are your secondaries you think you're going to be taking?
Octaria, Stata, Spread the Sickness, because I've got quite a bit of Nurgle infantry.
Those are both shadow operations, aren't they?
Yeah, shit, you're right. So I'd be taking Engage on all fronts. Octaria, Stata instead of Spread the Sickness, and then I don't know. I could probably either do like no prisoners or grind them down. Just based on like the increased shooting that I have, especially with the -1 AP contagion that I can utilize to amp up the effectiveness of my shooting.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Oh, and then I can also like make the Contemptor reroll 1s to wound too, so I can try to grab some more mortals off of that. But Yeah, I mean, like right now I'm in the stage of um, list building where I am iterating on an existing list right now instead of throwing out the whole thing and then restarting with like a new like archetype. Um,
Sure.
I feel like those are like the two like big like schools of thought when it comes to building a tournament list. Either you take something that works and iterate on it and try to improve it and like really just get to know like that style of play and not army, or you take the whole thing, scrap it, create a new army.
Yep. Yeah, I'm at the same place with my list. I'm iterating on it right now. I have a list I like, and I'm not really trying to throw it out.
Don't tell me it's that fucking towel list.
It's the top list.
God damn it.
This is sweet. So yeah, I'll talk about it now. I'm still on 9 broadsides. I was going back and forth between the railguns and another unit of missile sides. The problem with the last unit of missile sides is it just eats up all of my extra points. So I think I'm going to keep it on the railguns because it's railgun broadsides are the actual cheapest source of smart missile system fire that you can get in the entire codex. And the first unit of railguns is fine because of the relic. Not great. They're not excellent, but they're fine for their primary fire. And then the missiles are unbelievably point sufficient for the indirect fire. Keeping with the +1 to hit flyers. I've actually moved more +1 to hit flyers into the list because Drakari are a bad matchup, and I want to be able to pop as many raiders as fast as possible. Then I cut my patrol. So I'm a little bit worse for marker lights. I have 2 marker light characters and 10 pathfinders, but I don't have the rerolls anymore. So I'm a little bit worse for marker lights. But I was actually finding that because I played pretty much all MSU style armies, I never really had a target where it's like, I want to put 5 marker lights on that thing. And it's important that I get 5 marker lights on that thing. So I really just want 2, so I'm allowed to fire secret missiles at it, and then I don't care anymore. So 2 characters plus 10 pathfinders plus the 2 stratagems that exist for marker lights is more than enough. And then with all those extra points, I took a Skyray. And a Skyray is a Tau tank that hits on 3s, that has smart missile systems.
3s?
Yeah, it hits on 3s. It gets +1 hit flyers too, so it hits on 2s against raiders. And it has 2 marker lights, so it has marker lights that hit on 2s. This is crazy. And then it has, yeah, I don't know, man. It's not even infantry, so it can fire its marker lights and its other weapons at the same time because that's a rule. It's crazy. It's so good. And then it has 2 smart missile systems, which because of my faction are AP1, and then again +1 hit flyers. And then it has 6 seeker missiles, so they're once per game. Strength 8, AP2, D6 damage, but they can only hit on 6s unless the target has 2 marker lights on it. But it can benefit from its own marker lights, and I can shoot. And very rarely am I going to be like, I hope these marker lights hit. I'm usually going to try and get 2 marker lights from other sources, then it'll fire marker lights somewhere else and fire the seeker missiles. Every weapon on the platform has the word missile in it, so they all get extra armor penetration. So the seeker missiles are actually AP3, and the smart missiles are all AP1. It's a glass cannon. It's 160 points. It's 13 wounds on T7 with 3 up armor. It just goes away. But the big thing is that the big missiles up top are 72 inches, and I was feeling I was short like one more thing that could just like really reach out and like knock a raider off of itself, other than like pointing a bunch of missiles at them, like broadside like direct fire missiles at it, which is fine. But I'd really like to fire all my direct fire missiles at infantry because they're strength 7, so they win the 1/2s, and I just want to like kill all of the infantry. The other change I made is I got rid of the Overwatch within 9 inches. I back to 6. It was fine. I was dragging a couple other things in, but wasn't like doing an incredible amount. I don't think it was really changing the fact that like if I was allowed to shoot Overwatch at it, 2 units of broadsides was usually going to just pick it up, and if I wasn't allowed to shoot Overwatch at it, then shooting at it with my whole array didn't matter because it wasn't legal. So I changed that to gifted pilots, which is vehicles and monsters that move half of their distance can reroll 1s to wound. So that's the Skyray can reroll 1s to wound with its 6 las cannon shots once per game, and the Relic Riptide Ion Cannon is now rerolling 1s to wound as well most of the time because neither of them really need to move their full distance. Also, this means I get to shoehorn even more indirect fire into the list because I was realizing that that's the thing that was just making the list not okay. I was winning my games where I got to just like dig my opponent out of cover because nothing is safe, and I was losing the games where I was not digging them out fast enough. I found that the shield drones were good, but I didn't actually need as many as I brought. Basically, it came down to if my opponent touched me melee, everything fell apart, and my shield drones didn't matter. And if they didn't, they were dead way too fast for their anti-tank firepower to actually dig through my shield drones. So I've actually also cut about 5 shield drones to put a seeker missile on every broadside. So I have 9 more once per game las cannons because I just wanted more anti-tank firepower.
All right,
Again, just pop raiders.
real quick.
Yeah.
So you and I were talking. We were like, you probably win the objective game if you kill your opponent in 3 turns.
Yeah,
So you've made your list so you kill your opponent in 3 turns.
absolutely.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to confirm what happened there.
I was like looking at my games. I was like, when did I lose? I'm like, I lost when I failed to pop a raider. So I'm gonna just add. If I add 15 las cannon shots to the game, is that enough? It's like probably that's enough. Kevin loves this list. He's a big fan. This is not a healthy
I hate
list.
indirect fire.
It's not a healthy list. It's something I'm only going to bring to a tournament, obviously, because it's not fun to play against. And the goal really is to table my opponent because I was finding that I had like brought 5/5 warriors, going like, oh, maybe they'll be able to do some objective things. No, like I could every time I looked at the table, I was like, if I put them anywhere towards the center of the table, like incidental firepower picks them up. And then every single other model in my army is toughness 5 or higher with 2 up armor. So like, why am I offering my opponent's T3 targets with bad armor saves? So I just not doing that anymore. So I just cut them for more firepower. I think this list is like reasonable. It really is unlimited power. The old versions has caught a lot of people off guard where they're just like how many attacks are you making? It's like because the list is making like over 100 attacks that are all strength 7 or higher with AP 3 or higher doing multiple damage. It's kind of impressive. Within like also 80-ish to actually this version's 90 indirect fire attacks, which are all either 5 neg 2/1 or 5 neg 1/1 with +1 to hit flyers. Yeah. So the broadsides, the Riptide, and the Sky are all +1 hit flyers because flyers that have penalties to hit are like the Bane of Tau. So that's the thought there, and it's just trying to table people basically, which is kind of ugly, but it's gross. The list is gross and it's fun to play. I enjoy playing with it, although I get that it's not fun to play against. And we're trying to do as best I can with the bad faction. Basically, the idea is like Tau are quote unquote terrible in 9th edition because they're very bad at all the 9th edition things. They're bad at holding objectives well. They're bad at doing a lot of the secondaries. So I'm just going to refuse to play the 9th edition game of like try to outscore my opponent. And I'm just going to try and table them as fast as possible because I'm going to lose every game I try to play 9th edition like 9th edition with Tau. They just like, I'm not Richard Siegler. I'm not going to be able to concoct a list like just somehow magically playing 9th edition. So I'm just going to play this list and try and play my own game and force people to play on a metric that they might not be used to or comfortable playing on.
That's
Kevin
fair.
hates it. I can feel the rage radiating from him. All right, Kevin, yell at me. Go for it.
Chat's asking, have you ever made a list that was fun to play against? This is for you, Ben.
Have I ever made a list that was fun to play against? I mean, probably not. I don't know.
All right, chat, because I know. Actually, I don't know if Rob's still there, but
That's the person who just asked the question, so presumably he's still there.
would you rather play orcs into Deathwatch or orcs into Tau?
It has to be Deathwatch. Like, you can kill Deathwatch models. You only tabled him in 4 turns. I think Tau do it in 3. Yeah, I don't know. I do bring. It's about the same. Yeah, I mean, it is right. This is the difference between playing casual and competitive 40k, right? Like, I'm never bringing this to a casual game. I'm gonna try and tone this like way down. And I again made the mistake of attempting to play Tau in casual games and just went like, no, Tau is just like literally miserable to play with and against in a casual setting, no matter what you do with it. Which is unfortunate because it's my favorite faction, but they're just like not in a good design space right now. Which this list I think kind of shows. Like I'm trying to build the best Tau list I can, and it's just like, what's the best I can do with Tau? I can try and table my opponent as fast as possible. It's just like it's a race. Like, can I get them off the table by turn 3 and actually start scoring points? And then for secondaries, it's like either grind them down or while we stand we fight, and then raise banners, because raise banners is one that you can max if you table your opponent on turn 3. You can just raise banners in every objective and just be like, look at all the points I'm scoring now. And then the last one's usually engaging all friends, because I can throw out pathfinding units or 2-man drone squads to various table edges, and like I very rarely get 4 quarters, but I can get 3 pretty consistently.
Okay.
All right. And then
What are you gonna do against AdMech?
How do I do against AdMech?
Yeah.
Terrible, but like what list could anyone possibly concoct to beat the AdMech Vanguard menace other than like mono vehicles, which
I don't know if you go. I think it actually might be a coin flip, Ben.
it's fair.
If
I go first, we could kill a lot of freaking AdMech.
Well, if you actually think that you can't beat them if you ever go second,
Yeah, I just deploy
play all your stuff on the line. Says, I win this roll off. I can literally shoot indirectly into your entire field.
Yeah, Monka, move myself 10 inches forward and just like
Time.
here's 90 missile shots into your 80 infantry and see how it goes. That's fair.
Then you don't have your defensive buffs up.
Yeah. Oh, right, because their defensive buffs are all.
Yeah, you'll actually kill their entire army.
All right, my AdMech matchup is like 50-50, Kevin.
Hey, that's you're doing better than I can.
Oh no.
I play shitty Space Marines, not powerful Tau.
All right, so the last thing I just wanted to talk to you real quick, Chris, is like, how do you feel about the local meta? How close do you find it matches up to like the real meta, and who are our strong players? You don't have to name names. Like, what are the strong lists that you see?
Yeah,
we're saying nice things about them.
I don't know. It's kind of weird because like there's definitely a good smattering of good players, but there's also players where like, and I don't mean like any specific person. I mean just like you see like somebody's list submitted on BCP and it's like Drukhari with like, you know, like 6 raiders, and you're like, ah, shit, how am I gonna, you know, go against this guy? And then I hate to use the term net lister as a pejorative because I think it's stupid, but like,
yeah,
it's a meta chaser who doesn't really understand like the strengths of the list, or doesn't like extract like the full potential out of it. So it's hard to get a grasp on like
there is something to be said for the. Sorry.
Unless you know the players, unless they're players that have made a name for themselves, and you know that, all right, they're strong players that like know what they're doing. And if they're strong players that know what they're doing, I would hazard a guess to say that like it doesn't really matter what army they take, because you know that they're gonna try to give you a solid game.
Yeah, there is something to be said for, I think, the last tournament that we both went to. Was like a lot of people's first game of 9th edition, so it wasn't necessarily like, oh, they didn't know the army, like they didn't know the edition because people hadn't played Warhammer in like a year and a half. So there was definitely a lot of rustiness in the last one I went to. And it was like a pretty clear divide between like people who played 9th edition and people who hadn't yet. I find the meta to be interesting because we have a couple of very good players who always bring the same things. We have very skilled player who's bringing either sisters or guard to like every tournament, depending on which one's good. So right now it's sisters. And then we have Pat is a local. He drives to a lot of local events. You run into him a lot. He's going to bring a very good Space Marine list. He wanted a GT with White Scars, and I think he's still just playing that same White Scars list at most events.
He is.
He's a very good player. So like, if you want to win an RGT right now, you have to be able to beat an extremely good White Scars list piloted by a very competent player, and that's not something every list can do right now. or every player can do, because it's pretty easy to get outplayed by white cards if you're not paying attention.
Very easy, because they can just
and
speed
then
around you and then smash you.
Yeah, and then there are a fair number of people who will just show up with whatever's good in the meta. So I did see several lists that were just like a bunch of raiders with dudes with dark lances in them, and just like, yeah, I know what that list does. I've seen it on 40K Stat Center a million times. Which isn't bad. Like, it's not bad to be like, I own or wish to play a faction that's very good right now. I've done it. Like, I had a point in 8th edition where I was so frustrated with the Space Marine meta. I was like, screw it, I'm gonna play Space Marines because I'm done just getting smashed over and over, because I had just gone to a GT with Tau where I played against, like, I lost to Space Marines 3 rounds in a row. And it was just like, I didn't feel like I had made any major mistakes. Which is like, it literally didn't matter what I did. Space Marines were so much better. So I get playing meta lists, and that's fine. That's reasonable. So I do find we have a fair amount of the meta, but you also have like some one-offs. Like, we have a guy who shows up with Tyranids to like every RTT, and because he does this to every RTT, he's a good Tyranids player. Which is something that, like, might not be ready for, because Tyranids are quote unquote bad right now. And when we say they're bad at the GT level, where you have to be able to beat every single list in the meta, and like there are matchups where they just fold to, but if you're not prepared for like what Tyranids can do in 9th edition, like, you'll just lose to them. They're not particularly killy. Like, he doesn't run the Macron list, like, he's not murdering you, but like, they can like double move their infantry and then still do actions in the movement phase. Like, there's like, you just like, oh, you just like scrambled in my deployment zone because your gargoyles moved 24 inches and then did an action. So, yeah, they can do that, and like, you have to be ready for that. Because like, they just do all the secondaries. Like, every time I've seen him play, it's like, how many points did you get in your primary? Because I know you got at least 40 on your secondaries. Like, it's like every time there's like 40 points on secondaries, and then like, how many points did you get in the primary? Then that's all that matters. So yeah, I enjoy our local RTTs. I think we have some very skilled players. And we also have some diverse lists. It's not like the same thing every time. I managed to catch two out of 3 Dark Eldar matchups, but it was a 20-person event and there were only 2 Dark Eldar lists there. I managed to do it. I managed to play both of them. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. How about you?
I'm pretty satisfied with the local meta. There's it's not like there's like a whole bunch of like skew going on here.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of like the overall meta, and like, people are going to buy what's good. That's part of why GW does the things that they do. So it's not like entirely surprising.
Drukari thing's not super. The Commandant, if you're like comparing that with Drukari, I mean, Raiders have always been like a flagship of Drukari, and like their infant. Like, the joke about like the Drukari is you can play all their troops, transports, and one of each of their HQ, and you have a good list. Maybe not like the best way you could build the list, but that's like a good list. And it's hard to say that like they're really skewing it. It's not like the Centurion issue of 8.5.
Oh, you mean like those 9 Centurions that I have collecting dust right now?
Right. Yeah.
I definitely don't have a bunch of Centurions that are unpainted, because I was thinking about playing.
No, you don't. They're sitting in a box, like right over there.
That's why I said I don't. They're Kevin's problem now. All right. I think that's everything I wanted to say.
So
I'm a little disappointed that I don't get to play against Chris again in an RTT. He really loves the Tau list. It's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, it's such a pleasure to just be subject to. It's like it's like getting caught in an infinite combo in a fighting game, where you just, once you get caught in it, you just sit back and just watch the movie as your life bar depletes.
Chris.
So Chris,
how did I describe it to Omar? It's like a World of Warcraft boss where it's a DPS check, except it's in reverse, where you are the boss, and like, Benzless has to like do enough DPS or you win.
Yeah, it's reverse DPS.
But you're playing on easy mode, so the DPS check is always guaranteed.
I mean,
yes.
Probably just like gonna put a bunch of Death Guard Terminators in front of you, like. I'm telling you about D3 damage autocannons, about the Terminators. It's great. It's great.
So, Chris,
Yes.
speaking about local metas and being bombarded with Death Watch opponents, how'd you feel about our patrol game?
Oh, about the patrol game at 750 points where everything's on balance.
What are you talking about? I brought troops. I brought 2 big units of troops. And a rhino. Beep beep.
You did bring the beep beep. Your all right. So here's so this is gonna be a little bit of a tangent, but so like a few weeks ago, I was bitching about the painting requirement for this RTT that Ben and I went to because I was having to like rush through like painting all my models and stuff and not giving them like the kind of paint jobs that I usually would like to give them. After playing Kevin's Death Watch in this 750 point patrol game, I'm for paint requirements now because all of his kill teams are just primed black, which means that there was like a kill team of like 10 dudes and then like a kill team of like I think was it 10 or 5? Doesn't matter.
It was 2 10-man kill teams.
Yeah, and one of them was real fucking punchy.
They were both punchy.
But the thing is, like, when you have somebody explain their list to you, and they're like, "All right, this is a Death Watch kill team, and it's got blah 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 power fist, blah 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 chain swords, lightning claws," like a lot of times you can just hear it, and it just goes in one ear and out the other, and you like it doesn't matter until you're actually fighting it, and then you're like, "Oh shit, this guy has a bunch of power fists or whatever." And I'm bringing up the paint requirement because since they're all primed black, I can't actually like see that there's like 4 thunder hammers or whatever, or like well, you can see thunder hammers, but I mean like power fists and like lightning claws and all of that shit.
I hit you with the worst possible kill team. There were 5 unique melee weapons in that unit.
Yeah, and none of them were hammers.
I had a seizure, forgot about it.
Yeah, none of the so it's hard to remember because there's 5 different melee weapons in it, and 2, I can't actually see the goddamn weapons because everything's just painted black. And like, what's the difference between like a power fist and lightning claws? The claws. What happens if everything is painted black and it's on the tabletop and you're standing 4 feet away from it? You can't tell. They all like. Even if the guy has a power fist, like it's really hard to tell that from a regular fist at that distance, and if everything's black. But goddamn, that one kill team killed my entire army.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Ugh. All right. Well,
listen. Your demon princes need to learn how to make 4-inch charges
and stay in melee with broadsides.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's actually a bit of an inside joke. We haven't talked about that on the podcast, but there was a moment in our Tau versus Death Guard game where a demon prince charged some broadsides, killed a couple shield drones standing next to them, and then consolidated out of combat with them.
That's one of those things where it's like, all right, I can see where I can like do this cool trick.
Yeah,
I can do the hit and run, and I get so focused on doing that, and then I don't think like, oh shit, is that actually a good idea?
Yeah, because against most targets, it's great. Like, you're really happy to like most things, like you hit the big thing and then walk away from it before it can whack you back. But like, the broadside just like don't do anything in melee, and they also aren't vehicles, so they can't shoot in melee either. I don't think it actually changed the game because
it would not have changed the game.
I still have my Monka. I could just burn my Monka to fall back and shoot, but like,
yeah. Anything else we want to touch on?
No, I think that's everything.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to this week's show. Hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to thank our contributors for this episode, Kevin Lieb and Benjamin Rubenstein.
Mm-hmm.
This has been the 3D6 Charge podcast. Bye for now, and don't roll any ones.